back here at home, police are investigating a terrifying home invasion robbery in Bel-Air. And we're getting word right now of yet another break-in not far from that home. Fox 11's Laura Diaz is live in Beverly Glen with more. Laura.
Susan, we're here along a very busy Beverly Glen, and it was about 2 hours ago that a female victim tells us that two men came into her house. You can imagine how terrified she was when she heard the noise, came downstairs, and came face to face with danger. Listen to her.
As soon as my husband and my daughter left, there was no car in the driveway, and in less than 10 minutes I heard some banging, and usually there are a lot of accidents here, so I looked outside. There was no accident, and I came down and I'm looking around the house, and I saw two guys like running out from behind the window, and I ran out because I wasn't sure what's going on, and I was screaming and yelling, and they jumped in a car and they left. Someone might break in while I'm working from home. It's very scary.
You can obviously tell that she was still very shaken by that experience. She said she wasn't wearing contact lenses at the time, so she really didn't get a good look at anybody. Now, as you pointed out at the top there, Susan, this isn't the only incident. It was last night in an area about 6 miles from here on Pasadena Road in Bel-Air Crest, where there was a home invasion robbery. This one very terrifying. It involved an elderly couple. We are told by police that three masked men entered the home through an unlocked, shut door. It was a sliding door. And for 3 hours, they terrorized a man and a woman, a husband and wife in their 70s. They were tied up, and at one point, they even put a hood over the woman's face, so she was not able to see much. They were demanding valuables of the couple, and they kept telling them they didn't have valuables in the home, but that didn't deter these three men who at some point got quite aggressive with the couple. Now, we don't know exactly what happened in that altercation, but the man was injured and the woman was somehow involved in it too. That part is a little bit murky, but we can tell you that those three masked men who were not able to be identified by the couple, they said they could not see who they were not able to give a description. They ended up taking a safe out of the house. They dragged it out on their own. They said it was quite heavy, and according to the couple, there wasn't much in the way of valuables inside of that. There was maybe only some cash, which they described as being a low amount. But terror in that neighborhood, as we talked to people in the neighborhood earlier today, said it was very, very frightening. And the fact that while the men were inside of the house, they took apart the security system, so there's no footage inside of the house. They also doused the entire house with bleach so that they could curtail their trail of evidence. So this was a very thoughtful, well procedure that took place inside of that home, and tonight the LAPD searching for clues. But these two events taking place about 6-7 miles apart has people on edge on the west side. Laura Diaz reporting live along Beverly Glen. Now back to you, Susan.
But Laura, right now there's no official connection between those two incidents?
No connection at all. It's certainly, some people in the neighborhood were saying on the first location, Beverly Crest, that it felt calculated, but I didn't hear that from the LAPD. The only thing they would say to me was that it was a classic home invasion robbery, which we also know as a hot prowl, where people are home. That woman just happened to be up. It was 8 o'clock at night. It had just turned dark, and she was packing for a trip that she and her husband were taking the next morning. Her husband gets up at 1 o'clock to go to work, so he was already asleep. He didn't even wake up until about an hour into that 3-hour reign of terror, but you can imagine how horrifying it was for that elderly couple.
Terrifying indeed. Laura Diaz, thank you for your reporting.